But even if those were the intentions, this is still a choice, an action that was taken, and the fashion in which it was taken too. That is such a slap your on the table moment, right? Saying it in Spanish, but he's talking about things that they've never encountered before. He's talking about sonic weapons coming from drones. I feel like this is the first time the US has been bold enough to just say like, yep, this is us, this is what we do, and you better tell all your friends, because they're not hiding anything. They really aren't.
This weekend, the feds knock on our door, okay? Which this is a first for me. A first for me. Somebody mailed in a letter to the FBI that stated that my wife was a Hamas terrorist. She was a Palestinian Hamas terrorist, and that her husband was a Trump supporter.
The critical thinking aspect of it, like, let's actually have a discussion. Let's prod and pick apart what we're trying to say.
Welcome back to the It Show. We're super excited to have you guys back. This is our first recording of the new year, and I'm pumped, man. I'm super pumped because we have so much to cover. There's been so much that's happened over the last few weeks, just kind of all over the world, politically, war, all of the different things that we get to cover today. And we get to really dissect what your thoughts are on it and open a dialogue, because we're all about independent thinking and we want to bring those thoughts to the table so that we can discuss it, learn from it, and become better because of it. So if you like this show, if there's anything of value that you learn from this, you love it, you find us funny, hopefully, any of those things, please hit the like button, subscribe, follow, all of those things, because it really, really helps us and would mean the world to us if we can help grow the show. So as always, I'm excited. Today we have me, one of your co-hosts, William Butler, along with my co-host here, my man, Edelio.
Woo, baby!
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of oil money, dog. A lot of oil money. Listen, man, I'm excited, brother. I'm so excited. Let me tell you, I have not been this pumped about the situation in a country for a long time. Let's talk about Venezuela first, if you want. Okay. As a Venezuelan national myself, and as a lot of Venezuelan nationals on Instagram and on social media now, we're very excited. A lot of people in the States that do not have the context don't really understand why we're so excited. And I have some perspective that I can kind of shine light on, you know, if I may. My grandfather, he used to work for PDVSA, who is the subsidiary of like BP and all the oil companies that went into Venezuela back in the early days when Venezuela was just an emerging country. And what most people don't realize is that the U.S. built the infrastructure in Venezuela. In the 80s, Venezuela already had a subway system that rivals New York, because it's the same corporate giants that built New York that went to Venezuela to build it based on the oil. My grandfather worked for that company, and this man, he had 15 kids. He had 15 freaking kids. I don't even know how many that says it. That's yeah, him having 15 kids. That meant that he needed to sustain that whole family. If he wasn't working for the oil company that was actually substantiating his family, then he wouldn't have been able to raise them. And I wouldn't be able to be here in the context that I am, to be able to actually conceptualize that for somebody that may not understand. The entirety of Venezuela, when it comes to infrastructure, oil, the main city of Caracas, it was built and bolstered by the U.S. Now, once the Chavez wave came into play and he kind of took over the government with the coup, that's when people started to lose sight of what was, I guess, important. Mm-hmm. He had some great talking points, just like any budding fascist typically has. But at some point, people started becoming the frog that gets boiled slowly, right? Like that's a playbook. You take over with some really strong talking points, and then your actual agenda starts showing up year over year as your actions start to speak louder than your words. And then decades go by, Maduro takes over after Chavez dies, and then you have a complete population that has lost sight of what made them great in the first place, which is the culture, the people, and the fact that it was bolstered and supported by that first world country that made it a first world country. Like at that time, Venezuela was it's still immensely rich. There's a joke that Venezuelans say that when God was creating the world, he had a bag of riches and all the gems and the gold and stuff. And he was like putting a little bit here, a little bit in Africa and stuff. And then he tripped and a whole bunch spilled in Venezuela. Because it's true, like it literally has the largest oil reserves in the world. And not just that, but it's got a lot of precious metals, a lot of gemstones. It's got pretty much everything. Every single climate that you can think of. It's got jungle with the Amazon. It's got the Sierras over in Merida. It's got deserts. It's got plains. It's got cities. It's got everything. And it's just one of the biggest tragedies that it got mishandled and mismanaged so bad for so long. That's why everybody's so excited. And people that have the context that I have, people that have been brought up with the family values that I have, see the U.S. taking it over. And we see not just hope, but we see a sparkle of what Venezuela used to be coming back.
Right.
So that's why we're excited. Now, that doesn't mean that the U.S. currently is not going to take advantage and pillage and do what they do. It's part of the game plan.
We all know that's going to happen.
We all know that's going to happen. So it's not a blind, hey, yes, we're so excited that the U.S. is taking over. It's just we've had enough. We've had enough for too long. And this is just a step in what I think my people think is the right direction.
Yeah, I think the litmus test to if it was the right thing or not is asking people who are from Venezuela and people who've experienced it and lived it. And so I think for me, what I thought was really interesting about it was because I know kind of where you stand politically in your views. So I was like, oh, I knew that you were going to be like, yeah, you're happy it happened. But then I have another friend of mine who actually they just had a wedding this weekend, and he's a gay guy and he's from Venezuela. He left Venezuela less than 2 years ago. So he was in it.
Yeah.
And his family's still stuck over there. And he came over here. He's trying to get his, citizenship, go through the whole deal. And he's like anti-Trump because of a lot of the things that are happening. So, you would expect him to be anti what just happened in Venezuela. And his views are he's fucking happy it happened. And he's like, he hates everything Trump does, but he was pro this.
Right.
And so for me, I was like, okay, maybe this was the right thing. Because if you can hate somebody but approve of this action, then maybe there's something that I'm not seeing because I've never been there. I never lived there. All I could do is read the news and read what's, the whatever I'm being fed through whatever media outlet I'm reading. And, there's a lot of good and, there's obviously a lot of bad that can come from it. But if everybody who's lived it and been in it and that's where they stand, then shit, I'm happy for them.
Yeah. And another thing that's kind of opened up to me is this now first person experience that I didn't have before. Whenever I heard arguments from people on both sides of the aisle talking about the Israel-Palestine conflict in Gaza, issues with Iran, issues with the Middle East, issues anywhere, you name it, there's an issue, right? Russia and Ukraine. I didn't have this perspective to be able to realize, hold on, okay, there's both sides are making decent points.
Right.
But can we really just take a second to deconstruct these talking points? Because that's pretty much what most people do.
That's a lost art.
Right. The critical thinking aspect of it. Like, let's actually have a discussion. Let's prod and pick apart what we're trying to say and see if that actually stands the test of pressure. Because that's when you're sitting on something solid. Now, me being a person that really understands, has a lived experience, and then seeing other people who typically I would listen to about facts and all these other conflict areas, they're having they're having a reaction that is now very clear to me that for the most part, nobody knows shit.
Right.
Nobody knows shit. Everybody either grasps onto something that resonates with them and then they just make it their identity and they just run with it and they try to fight everybody else based on that. That's such a waste of time. I have friends of mine who I trust who just do not agree with what the US is doing with Venezuela. And I go like, well, hold on. Like, you're telling me some things that make sense to you, but you're not seeing the whole story. Can I explain to you why most of Venezuelans are ecstatic about this? And even some of them are close-minded, that they're not open to even seeing the gray in the situation. It's not black and white, right? And now this is really opening my perspective up to realize, like, even people that may be really, really influential about what they're saying between conflicts and things of that nature, everybody should be and needs to be not just skeptical, but like take everything with a grain of salt. Everything. Because yes, this may be a great thing for Venezuela. Yes, it may be a terrible thing for Venezuela because if we're being honest, what I think is happening is an AI race, right? Kind of like the space race that we had with JFK. This is an AI race. And because China and Russia had alignment with Venezuela, and AI needs an incredible amount of energy to develop, the U.S. losing access to that was going to mean something extremely terrible in the next couple of years. Now that the U.S. has that control, they can leverage it for AI and for development. Like, that's what I think happened.
Right.
But even if those were the intentions, this is still a choice, an action that was taken, and the fashion in which it was taken too. That is such a slap your dick on the table moment.
Yeah.
Right? There's a whole bunch of different WhatsApp groups that I'm on with my family, but there's this one WhatsApp group that there's this audio circulating from a leader of essentially like the guerrillas that were leading the country. For the most part, Venezuela had Maduro, but we all know Maduro is more likely a puppet. And there's a larger organization running the country, and that organization had to do with cartels and drug money, and
so similar to the United States.
Exactly. So that one of the leaders on the guerrilla that was in charge of the Chinese factions and the Russian factions, because that's another thing like that people don't understand. It wasn't just Venezuelan MPs that were in the military police and in the military force. It was bolstered mostly by foreign allies. Because when you really think about it, in order to enact the terrible things that the military enacted in its own people, you'd have to be a complete piece of shit Venezuelan to do that type of stuff.
Right.
That's why it was bolstered by Cubans, by Chinese nationals, by Russians. And the account that this man, this leader has on what happened that night, the 21st, was it? I forget, the 17th, whenever it happened. It's chilling. He's talking about, and we can pull it up so you can listen to it. He's saying it in Spanish, but he's talking about things that they've never encountered before. He's talking about sonic weapons coming from drones. He's talking about around 21, 23 men who took out hundreds. He's talking about a level of military superiority that they've never encountered before. Have you ever played Splinter Cell?
Yeah, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Yeah. Do you remember the latest one with all the Ghost Recon type stuff with like the
I played the throwback PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2.
So one of the newer ones came out a few years ago. It has this technology where like they'll launch little drones. They'll have these backpacks, and the drones will go up into the air and have this eagle eye view. And not only are they able to look through walls through Lidar and sonar, but they're able to have sonic weapons. And this is what this man is talking about. He's talking about
I'm saying this shit already exists.
This is what they went through. In hours, they lost the control of the capital. They lost control of being able to protect Maduro. He was trying to get into a safe, but he wasn't able to do that because, again, the U.S. had this completely covered. Not only did they have the superiority with the weapons and the technology, but they rehearsed this for months. This was not a whim. This was planned. And do you remember what was happening in New Jersey at the end of last year with the drones?
Oh, when people were seeing aliens?
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory. That in that very moment, there were a bunch of different companies that were vying for the contract to do this. And that because they were trying to vie for the contract, they had to prove what their technology was capable of. This is why so many people saw bigger drones, smaller drones, different types of drones, different lights. They could stay up there for much longer. They could stay up there for hours. Mm-hmm. And my theory is that's what was happening in New Jersey was essentially a game or a
prove it.
Exactly. Like this is a bunch of different companies trying to win that contract. Because again, it's part of the machine. But what that's chilling down is crazy.
That's concerning on so many levels. Like it's not we've always known. I mean, this has been probably 10 years in the making now. There's like most wars are not going to be fought by people on the ground anymore. We kind of knew it was going to be one of these things where most wars today are probably just going to be proxy wars and done behind a computer. Mm-hmm. And this kind of proves what's possible with a few men, like less than 24 men based on what you just said, right?
Yeah.
And crazy ass technology.
Crazy.
And I mean, if you're not equipped to handle it, or let's say if it was the first time they revealed what they're capable of too, that's really alarming if you're another country and if you're not a big powerhouse country and you don't have the technology to defend it.
Yeah.
And you hear this, you're like, oh, we don't really want problems with these people.
Right.
So we're going to, America's probably just going to go colonize more countries and do whatever the fuck they want.
Because doesn't America already have like the largest oil reserve that's untapped? Like they're just buying oil from everybody else and they have theirs just in case for a rainy day, but we're not even tapping it and we're just grabbing everybody else's shit and just reserving it so that we are always good, which is honestly a brilliant tactical move. Yes. 100%.
But very interesting because we knew, Venezuela. And when I first heard this, before talking to anybody else about, hey, what are your thoughts on this? My immediate thought was, because you hear about how it happened and you're like, can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just take out a leader of another country with no repercussions?
Right.
And that's why it's like, this could be a great thing or a terrible thing, but
it's setting a precedent that I think it's been set before, but it's not been said this publicly before, right? Like every single, let's face it, a 3-letter agency that is specialized in this type of warfare has been kind of more in the shadows, more covert, more using proxies and things of that nature to not ultimately pin things on the U.S. I feel like this is the first time the U.S. has been bold enough to just say like, yeah, this is us. This is what we do. And you better tell all your friends because they're not hiding anything. They really aren't. And
it was one of those things where you called it a hold on a second.
One of those, dude. One of those. It's like, look at it. Tell all your friends. Right?
Look at this girthy behemoth.
Look at the veins. It's the same thing that, if you think about it, is the same thing that Genghis Khan was doing back in the day. The Vikings, right? You take over a place and you take over it in such a ruthless way, and you leave just enough survivors, let's say, to live and tell the tale, right? But that's the most important part. You have to tell the tale, because otherwise the Vikings don't garner the mythical air that they have. Genghis Khan doesn't garner the mythical air that he has. Is you have to make sure that whoever's left, it's not going to be in charge, but they are the key players that are going to spread out the message of like, hey, the U.S. is not to be trifled with. And that's what's happening. That little message that made its way all around the actual MPs in Venezuela and started leaking into their family members, into their friends, and ultimately made it to my family nucleus and to me, is letting me know, well, you could be minding your own business, protecting your dictator, and all of a sudden, you're not going to be able to move. You're going to start bleeding from your nose. You're going to hear this high-pitched noise that's going to paralyze you. And then all of a sudden, you see these SEALs coming out of anywhere, shooting at a rate that apparently they've never seen before, with guns that they've never heard in their lives. It's just 300, bullets per minute type rates. It's insane. And then you have the fear of God instilled in you because you are left.
300 bullets a minute.
Yeah.
That's like 6 bullets a second.
Yeah. Insane rates of speed. They've never, like, they don't have the firepower to deal with this.
Right.
To even stop it, let alone take it over. Like, it is what it is. A few men took out hundreds. What does that sound like? Sparta. Like, this is legendary shit, man. Mm-hmm. And they're doing it in a fashion that's leaving these people scared. Like, the rest of Latin America is on notice. You know what I mean? It's not like we're going to take over shit, but it's like, hey, let's play nice. It's all play nice.
Right.
And whether you agree with it or you don't, that's completely up to you.
Yeah.
But it's a fact, dude. It's a fact that this happened. And this is something that we now everybody has to consider moving forward.
It's what, you mentioned Genghis Khan and some of these like historical great military leaders. I don't know if we, like, nowadays, are there going to be those, like, in the future of history books, are there going to be these really great military leaders, or is it all going to be done behind a computer and then just the president or whatever, whoever the leader is, just gets all the credit? Or is it going to be a warlord who's revered because of his prowess and what he's able to accomplish? Like, I'm sure you've done your research on, like, Alexander the Great. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, have you seen the documentary on this guy?
No. I've only read stuff about it.
Goodness. Oh, my goodness. There's a documentary. I want to say it's on Netflix, but it came out probably 2 years ago. Dude, and I was hooked. It was only like 6 episodes, but it was so good. That, like, he felt he was destined. He felt like he was called. And going against insurmountable odds. And it wasn't like Thermopylae with the Spartans, right? Where you're bottlenecked in and then you have to fight hand-to-hand combat for, in this bottleneck. So you're getting a fair trade. Other than fatigue, you're getting a fair trade with everybody who comes up. This was open battlegrounds. And we're outnumbered, 2-1, 3-1. I forget what the numbers were. And it's like, there's no chance you're going to win this.
Yeah.
0 chance. But a level of belief to pull things off. And then basically what he would do is his game time decisions of like, oh, we're losing here, pivot immediately and then call a flank. And then they do whatever the fuck they did. And they won multiple battles that they were not supposed to win. And I believe in the story, it was like they were going against Persia, who Persia was like the great world power at that point in time.
Yeah.
And, they start taking over some of their land for Greece. And then Persia's like, yeah, don't worry about him. He's going to lose this battle.
Right.
Don't worry about him. He's going to lose this battle. And then he's like, wait a second. Now we got to go fucking handle this guy.
Yeah. Because you underestimated the enemy.
You underestimate because there's no reason he should win. But what happened was a lot of Greece, they wouldn't even like rally to his calls initially because of like, this is a losing battle. I'm not going to throw my life away for no reason. But the more he won, the more the legend grew.
Yeah.
And the more the legend grew, now everybody starts to believe this is his destiny.
Yeah.
This is what he's supposed to do. And it kind of goes back to, I don't even know why the fuck I'm talking about this, but we're talking about military and all that stuff.
I love it.
And it leads into, like, I think how we can correlate this to the world today outside of just politics and war is, I heard Hormozy say the other day something to the effect of, when you're first starting, everybody's a huge supporter of you. Everybody wants to see you win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're least likely to succeed. So you really, really, really need it. Okay. When you start winning, the support withers. And then when you start doing better than other people, it almost goes away and you almost start getting attacked.
Right.
But the people who never supported you, they'll typically only support you when you're nothing or when you've already made it. And it's like, dude, I knew you were going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a middle ground, which it goes unrecognized, where people didn't support you at all.
It was just you.
And they even almost attacked you.
Yeah.
But when they support you, like, you don't need their support when you've already made it.
Right.
But there's a lonely period that you have to go through. And Alexander the Great had to do it. And then it's only when people start believing this is the guy.
Yeah.
It's only at that point where they start saying, yeah, I believed in you the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that takes us to our next point. We're in 2026. You've started this year with a fucking bang.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have to go into specifics of numbers, but I will not confirm nor deny that in 9 or 10 days, you may or may not have put up 4 listings.
Right.
Or something like that. Not have to confirm or deny a number.
Mm.
Which a lot of people set a lot of goals this year. They said, hey, look, I'm gonna conquer this year. I'm gonna make 2026 my best year ever. What is today? It's the 21st?
Mm-hmm.
21st. Probably 85% of people have already quit on those goals.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, yesterday, we're all going to go to lunch, right? And there was a group, probably 6 of us. We're like, man, we're hungry. I was like, all right, cool. Let's all go to lunch. And I was like, dude, let's go to Chipotle and get a Chipotle salad. Their salads are fire. I don't know if you ever had their salads, but they're very good.
They're good.
I was like, let's go to Chipotle. And everybody, all other 5 people are like, nah, man, let's not do Chipotle. Let's go get sushi. I'm like, dude, that's heavy carb. And I know that we all had goals of like losing weight this year. So let's not do sushi. And they're like, no, but I'm really wanting sushi. All right, if we don't do sushi, let's go get pho.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, still also heavy carb. And they're like, what do you mean it's soup? I'm like, what do you think the noodles are made of? It's all carbs. Like, like, well, there's protein, there's beef. And I'm like, I mean, we're going to get protein no matter where we go. We're also apparently going to get a lot of carbs no matter where we go. And they were like, all of them, 5 of them said, no, we're going to go over here. And I was like, all right, that's fine. You guys can go wherever you want, but here's where I'm going. I'm going to Chipotle. I'm going to get a salad. Because I thought that you guys made a commitment this year that it was going to be your best year ever. Not just financially, but also with your health. You said you're going to eat better so you can lose weight. There's actually goals we have written on our board in my office upstairs. People want to lose X amount of weight by March 1st. And we're even doing a competition of weight loss and all these different things to kind of inspire movement.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I thought you said you wanted to make this the best year ever, but for things to change, you have to change. So are you going to change? And bro, all of them were like, well, I mean, I guess if you put it like that, but it's just one of those things where I'm kind of getting to an era right now. And this is the mindset I used to have when I did 75 hard in 2020. And I might do another run of it.
Yeah.
Where you start developing almost an arrogance of excuses. When you hear an excuse, like my guy Joe, he ran a 100-mile race this weekend, right? And for the first time in a while, he didn't complete the race. Around mile 30, he started having some injuries. His knees were bothering him. He got to the rest stop, and his items weren't there that he expected. Like other people, like was lent his his sticks and whatever it was. His items that he expected were not there. Some of his snacks were gone. And he's like, dude, like, I understand these are our friends, but like, it's my shit for my race. Like,
right.
And then they had friends there that were just like, oh, it's like you and I are running a 100-mile race. You come, you're tired. And then I start giving you all of Chris's shit. Yeah. It's like, I wanted that. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And so he's like, dude, I got his injuries. All my stuff's not here. I'm not feeling good. I think I'm gonna quit the race. And so he's telling us this story. And mind you, he's already done 30 miles, which is pretty respectable in general.
Yeah.
And and his guy, his name was Will, and Will was like, well, yeah, I mean, if you want to quit, then you can quit. He's like, all right. And he called it. And he was telling me the story yesterday. And I was like, can I ask you an honest question? He's like, yeah, of course. I said, was it a matter of like, you couldn't do it or that you wouldn't do it? He's like, to be honest, I don't know. And I think that there was a level of me that was hoping when I told other Will, when I told him I wanted to quit, that he would tell me it'd be okay and to push me to keep going. And it reminds me that it's so easy to fall into a run. It's so easy to allow your mind to tell you it can't be done.
Yeah.
I think that you've slain, I mean, maybe you didn't slay the beast. I don't think you can ever slay the beast that's always there. You kind of just have to silence it, shove it in a corner, and focus on what matters most, what you can control, and just execute on that shit.
Yeah.
Because that beast will always creep back up. Like, dude, you did 75 hard. You were on a high.
Yeah.
How long did it take for that beast to come right fucking here?
Dude, no time. No time. It was so insidious too, because it's you. It's everything that you've compromised about in your life. That's what it is, right? In the cartoons, you have the little devil and the angel. They're both you.
Right.
And that's the thing that doing 75 hard helps you realize is like, you have both these, the analogy of the wolf, the dark wolf and the light wolf, which one survives, the one you feed. You have them both in there. One's not going to die. They're always going to be at odds with each other, always going to try and fight for supremacy, for control over the steering wheel, if you will. And doing 75 hard, the biggest thing that tells you, hey, there's only going to be one way forward from here on out, now that you know what's happening inside you, is integration. If you can integrate your light and your dark side, you can do anything. And the only way to integrate is almost like a wrestling match, right? One version of you is always wrestling with the other version of you. And if you feed one more, if you believe in one more, if you have that version of you that you want to survive or to be in control, if you feed it more, then it's going to overpower the other one way easier, right? It's going to make the other one have to tap out. And that's what happens when you go through 75 hard. 75 hard is a thing that you only do on your own. You may start with people, as you and I both know, but then you start flaking off here and there, or they may say they're still doing it, but you really know like they're compromising along the way. When you don't compromise, when you face every single moment that you want to quit and you see your own weakness and you're hoping somebody comes along and tells you, hey, do this, do that. You want someone to help you and no one else will help you but yourself. That's the moment.
Right.
That right there, that little choice, whether you choose to compromise or you choose to silence the fucking negative side of you and wrestle it away and make it tap out and you fucking continue on the way that you know is the only way forward. Those reps, going through those reps multiple different times, doing it again, is the only way that muscle builds to be able to now be this version of yourself that shows up in the room and you're already resonating at a different vibe. You don't even have to say shit.
Right.
And people take notice. They're like, what is this motherfucker going to say? I want to listen. That's what happens. And like you said, when you start out, nobody's paying attention to you. But when you have worked hard to build that and you start making waves, that's when people start going, oh shit, this man might be here to take my lunch. Yeah, right? And that's when the competition kind of, to me, it gets fucking good. It gets juicy.
Right.
I think you also went through something to close out. I want to touch really quick on something that happened to you, which I might think it's a similar thing. You might be resonating at a very different vibe, and some people that may not understand why you're resonating at that vibe are feeling bad about that, and they want to take you down a peg or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to you this past week?
Shit, a couple of things. And I want to say, the devil will try to attack you. Like they what was it they say? It's always darkest before the dawn. And, I believe the devil will try to bring you down right before you're about to hit that mark, whatever that mark is. So, last week, big sales rally, a big first one of the year, probably highest attendance every year. Probably 120, 130 people.
Giant room.
First one of the year. And, this is right after you guys just bought that big ass building. Very, very exciting, high energy. And I know that I'm, one of the people who are going to go up there and share a message in front of the room. 5 minutes before I go up there, I get notified that there was a wire debited out of basically a wire to ACH out of my account, whatever the fuck it was, of $19,700. That wasn't me, and it was not my wife. So basically fraud right before I have to go on the stage. And I was distraught, okay? Because I was like, I need to handle this right fucking now. That's not good. Because I also, there was a big data breach. I got a check from a class action lawsuit for $35 because of a data breach. Yay, $35.
Hell yeah.
And all my shit's out there, I don't, and so frustrating, but I still cashed the check. But then they just, they took out a lot more.
Get you on Chipotle salad.
Yeah, right. But that happened, and I was, that day, I was really pissed. Because it's not the first time any kind of thing like this has happened, but this was the first time, like, any types of frauds that I've ever had in the past, for the most part, have always been on credit. And credit companies are typically a lot better at resolving these things. This was like just straight up money gone into the abyss. So I had to go through the police report, all that shit. Frustrating, okay? But I chose not to let that shit bother me. Like, okay, that is what it is. Let me just keep focusing on what I need to do and just execute. This weekend, the feds knock on our door, okay? Which, this is the first for me. Somebody mailed in a letter to the FBI that stated that my wife was a Hamas terrorist.
Jesus.
She was a Palestinian Hamas terrorist, and that her husband was a Trump supporter. Not sure why that would be in the letter.
Just sprinkle it in on top.
First off, my wife's not even Palestinian.
Right.
Which makes me believe this is probably just a weirdo.
Yeah.
At first I thought, like, who would even know I'm a Trump supporter? I don't know. I actively talk about Trump. I don't even know if I am a Trump supporter at this point. I'm truly independent.
Yeah.
I believe right now I'm actually truly independent. So it had to be somebody that I've stumbled across in the last year or two. When I was much more pro Trump in that era.
Yeah.
But somebody's trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely there's a target on our back to some degree. I don't know why. Maybe some of the things we talked about on this pod.
Could be. One of you 40 people.
Right.
Looking at you.
But that's the first time a Fed came to our door, left us a card, and was like, look, pretty sure this is nonsense. Because we've done our research on you guys, but we do have to come by and talk to you. And they had to ask, like, hey, are you a Hamas terrorist? Wow. It's like, does anybody say yes to this?
How dumb do they have to be? Wow, dude.
So interesting week, to say the least. But, I'm not as bothered as I thought I would be. A little frustrated for sure. Just because we have to deal with certain things and it's like time consuming. And I think that's the biggest issue outside of the money. It's just like, it's just something that's just there, and it's splitting focus to a degree. Like, I want to lock the fuck in, and I want to execute. I want to do these things. But there's always this other thing. But that's life, man.
Yeah.
There's always other things.
Mm-hmm.
And there will always be more other things. And all we can do is just focus on what we can control and just keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. And we'll close with this, because I heard something this morning. I was listening to a podcast, and I'm somebody that I need to, not that I need to, because I want to be careful with the words I use here, but I am a much better version of myself when I start my day with personal development. So if I'm not listening to something that's rewiring me, like the minute I wake up, like I have a routine. Everybody has a routine. My routine's not great, but my routine is people do shit, shower, shave, Yeah. Some people shower, shit, shave, which makes no sense to me. Whatever. They do either your shit, shower, shave. But mine is like blast YouTube motivational videos, and take my shit, brush my teeth, get ready for work, do all those things. But I'll say this much. Chris Williamson said something that really struck a chord with me. And he said, if you find yourself in a rut, most people, they'll have this person and this person. Like literally we're talking about it. We didn't plan on talking about this, but I'm glad we are. Mm-hmm. You got, hey, go knock that shit out. No matter what's in the way, you're going to fucking conquer. And then you got this one. Who's like,
the doubter.
Dude, you got a lot of shit going on. It's okay to just take a break. It's okay to slack off. You deserve that ice cream today. You're always going to have both. And the only way to conquer that, if you're not doing some extreme thing like 75 hard and doing it, but the only way to conquer that really is set a goal for yourself of just asking yourself a question. What is something that I can look back 7 days from today that I would be absolutely proud of? That I would be proud of. Mm. If you're in real estate, you're in mortgages, maybe it's, hey, I'm going to make 500 calls this week. I got nothing else going for me, but I'm going to make 500 calls. And if I just did that, regardless of the outcome, regardless if I got appointments, new clients, anything, but if I just did 500 calls, I would be proud of that because that's 500 more than I did last week. Mm-hmm. And you just do that, and you just do that again, and you just do that again. You'll start to rewire, and then now your self-esteem is impacted because self-esteem is basically just your reputation between you and you.
Yeah.
If you follow through on the things that you commit to, now your self-esteem is impacted. Your self-esteem impacts the way you perform, which then impacts your results.
Yeah.
You get better results, now your confidence is impacted. And then it's just a vicious cycle, flywheel of, hey, self-esteem impacts your belief impacts your work impacts the results then create more confidence, and then it's
again.
Cycle. The more cycles you can do consistently, the more confidence that you're going to have, and the stronger the reputation you'll have with yourself.
Yeah, and you embody that frequency rather than just when you generate it.
But the most sinister thing is, the truth is also in reverse. So the more you commit to things and don't follow through, the more your self-esteem is impacted, the more that affects your belief of who you are, what you can accomplish, the more that affects the work you do, then affects your confidence. Yeah. And you go in, I'm going to go this way because that's reverse. And then now you go in a vicious cycle the other way. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a strong point for us to close out for the episode, because I know we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
You want to close this out?
Yeah, man. Well, if you had anything that resonated with you that we talked about, if you laughed at our fucking dumbass jokes at the beginning, make sure to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, also hit that bell notification so that you get notified the next time that we put one of these up. This is the first one of the year, and we have a lot more coming for you. If you have anything that you want us to talk about, leave it in the comments. We read every single one of those. And with that being said, man, well, we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time.